Welcome to a Faithful God podcast. I'm your host, Tammy Rotzel, and today on the show, we're going to continue our series on forgiveness as we talk about how to forgive someone who's hurt you. So grab those earbuds and your favorite beverage and join me for today's show. Hi, friend. Welcome back to the show. Happy Monday. Before I was getting ready to record, I was looking up what episode this was, and Monday Morning Dose of Hope, this is episode number 23. I cannot even believe that. We started this segment of A Faithful God podcast back in January, and I can't believe we are just up on episode 23 already. Time is just flying by for sure. The other thing I did before I hit record was look up our anniversary or our birthday. I don't know what that would be. A Faithful God podcast. I guess it could be either or, anniversary or birthday. I'm not sure. But anyway, I knew it was this month. We're actually going on vacation a week later than we normally do. And so it's really thrown me off this month. So I was thinking that the anniversary date was this week or next week. And I was so wrong. It was last week and I did not even celebrate it. I didn't even mention it. I can't believe that. I totally dropped the ball on that one. Sometimes I'm one of these people, I get really focused on what I'm doing. And when I finish one task, I set it aside then and I am done. And I'm not very good about looking back because then I'm on to the next thing. But having focus is really, really, really good. But it also means that when you are hyper-focused like that, you tend to miss things. And I do that quite frequently. So next year, I'm going to have to celebrate a little bit differently for sure. So anyway, happy birthday to A Faithful God podcast. Super excited to be joining you here and just how much you guys are loving the show. I never, ever could have dreamed it would be where it is today, for sure. That's what happens when we put God in charge of our work, right? It becomes so much more than what we could ever plan or imagine for ourselves. So anyway, so let's dive into forgiveness, this part of it. Today, we're going to talk about how to forgive someone when they've hurt us. I mean, that is hard. Oh my gosh, it's hard. And, a lot of times we tend to sit in the pain. We sit in the hurt. We sit in the anger of it. And I don't know about you, but I can sit back and think back, I guess I should say, to a time, a couple really, really difficult times in my life when I've chosen to sit in it. I've been so mad and angry. It almost became, and I think I may have even said this in a previous episode, but it almost became like this, like I wrapped myself up in it, like a warm blanket or a warm coat or something like that. But, we get so angry at the people that hurt us. And, we live here on this earth. Of course, we're going to have feelings like that. And so sometimes we get so angry, we choose to sit and indulge in it. We choose to sit in the pain rather than releasing ourselves. I mean, we sit there and say, oh, we want to be released from this pain. We want to let this go. But then we find, we come back around and, oh my gosh, another memory comes up where we think about something and it just puts us right back down where we were before, right? And I know that is happening with so many of you because I get the emails. My inbox, which is wonderful, is gloriously full all the time of, from our community, just emails from our community who are struggling to forgive. I think that is the biggest thing, the biggest challenge that so many of our community members have is learning how to walk in forgiveness, whether that's for ourselves or for someone else. And so that's when I knew we had to do this forgiveness Bible study. And so I'm so excited to bring this to you. But at any rate, I know that you guys are struggling too. I know that you are having trouble forgiving someone. I mean, and there are times that some people do some pretty incredibly painful things to us. And so we know we need to forgive. We know that. We know we want to, and yet we still sit in it for so long. And so today we're going to talk about how we do that, how we actually or the final thing, I guess is what I should say, the final thing that we can do to help us walk through forgiveness and healing. So we've talked over the last couple of weeks, we talked about the three most crucial things you need to do to walk in forgiveness. And that is, getting into the word, that is pursuing him, and that is being honest with God. And then last week we talked about those 5 steps to forgiveness, those 5 steps that you can take to actually, start healing, to start releasing yourself from the pain and the hurt. And those 5 steps are, realign your thinking. We've got to take our thinking off of them, put it back on our hearts. We have to, go to God. We have to pursue him and ask for that godly wisdom, the godly wisdom to help us understand this situation. We have to put our focus, again, off of the other person and the hurt they've caused us. And yes, we need to put it on us and how our hearts can change, like I just mentioned, but also we have to keep our focus on God. We have to keep looking up to God. We have to be honest with God. God already knows our feelings, so there's no point in being dishonest about it, of hiding anything from him. We have to be honest with him. And then we have to look to the Bible for biblical, examples, of biblical forgiveness. Now, if you haven't seen those 2 episodes, I highly recommend going back and listening to those first and then moving on with this as well. And actually, to be perfectly honest with you, I really recommend going back and listening to the very first episode in the series on forgiveness. That's going to really be helpful as we walk through these steps to forgiveness. So here's the thing. We know all these things, and what I was doing was trying to put together some actionable steps, because that's what we want. I think we feel more successful when we can take these actionable steps. Our walk through forgiveness is a journey for sure, and I've mentioned that it's a journey. It's not an easy, okay, you check the boxes off and then everything's going to be hunky-dory. No, it doesn't work that way. But I wanted to give you, and that's what those 3 crucial steps were, and then those 3 most important things in being able to even begin that journey of walking in forgiveness. And then we talked last week again about those 5 steps. And the reason I bring those up is because it's all going to kind of culminate to here. Everything that we've talked about is going to come to this. This is the way to open the door. This is the way, not only open the door, but it's the way to, we will never close the door on God for sure, but it's a way to kind of wrap all of this around. And that is by prayer. Now, don't let me lose you yet, okay? I don't want you to roll your eyes at me. And if you are, it's okay. It's totally okay. But don't let me lose you yet. I don't say this, I don't say this with just a very casual, we'll just pray about it. I don't. I know that this is hard. I know that when you are living in pain and hurt and anger, you don't always want to turn to God. You're mad, you're angry, this person hurt you. Why isn't God doing something about them? Right? I know we don't always want to lean into him. So I don't say this, this prayer. I don't take it lightly when I say that. I believe it. I believe prayer works. And I believe it because I've lived it over and over and over again. So when we go to God in prayer, when we sit there and we intentionally choose to communicate with him, that's when the healing begins. That's when that release of that freedom and forgiveness begins, by going to God in prayer. In Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 through 7, it says, "Don't be pulled in different directions or worried about a thing. Be saturated in prayer throughout each day, offering your faith-filled requests before God with overflowing gratitude. Tell him every detail of your life. Then God's wonderful peace that transcends human understanding will guard your heart and mind through Jesus Christ." This is everything we've been talking about, friend. Everything. Pursue God. Seek him. Don't be worried about how to get through this. Don't be concerned and indulging, focusing on your pain, right? Be saturated in prayer throughout each day. Be saturated in it. Sit there and go to God all day long. What else does it say? It says, offering your faith-filled requests. God, I don't know how to forgive this person. They've hurt me so deeply, and I don't know how to forgive. Show me, Lord. Change me, Lord. Right? We do this with overflowing gratitude. Lord, I don't know how to do this, but thankfully you do, Lord. I don't know how to walk this out. I don't know how to see them from a different perspective right now, but thank you, Lord, you do. Thank you, Lord, that you have all the answers. Sorry about that. My son's dog were dog sitting this weekend. They walking across the floors there. We know these things. When we are praising God, that's when we can move forward. When we are seeking him, pursuing him, being honest with him, when we are communicating with him throughout the day with everything in our life, that's when life changes. That's when the transformation begins. So what about this communication? What about that? You know what it's doing is it's building a solid foundation. It's building that solid foundation for your life. Well, how is it doing that? It's because you're building a relationship with God. And that right there is your foundation for everything in life. Building a solid foundation with God. That's the foundation for everything in your life, including forgiveness and healing. When these past hurts come up, if we've got a rock solid foundation, a rock solid relationship with God, I'm not saying perfect from our end, not from God's end, from our end. I'm not saying perfect. I'm saying rock solid. To know that even when we screw up, even when we find ourselves indulging in that pain for a moment, we can say, that's not what my God wants for me. Thank you, God, that I don't have to sit in this because of you, because of Christ's work on the cross. We're building that solid foundation through prayer, that solid foundation where everything else, when everything else in our life stands on that solid foundation, we may be rocked a time or two. In fact, we will be rocked. We will be hurt again. But each time, the longer that relationship and the deeper that relationship becomes, that's when we can right ourselves again. With God's help, by the way. It's so much easier when he's with us. Oh my goodness, it's so much easier when he's with us. So again, in Philippians, go to him with everything. Everything. The good feelings, the bad feelings. Feelings you know you shouldn't have. And yet you still do. And thankfully, our God still understands that. Thankfully, our God still loves unconditionally. But it starts with that foundation of a relationship with him. And how do you build that? How do you get through the hurt that someone caused? By praying with him continually, communicating with him continually throughout your day. I believe I mentioned this in last week's episode, but when we go to God for the healing that we need, oh my goodness, guys, I laugh because it is just so ridiculously glorious. It is far better than any kind of healing that you and I can experience on our own. It is so much bigger, always, always. But when we choose to lean into him and choose to seek him and choose to be honest with him and choose to pursue again and again and again, that's when transformation happens in your life. That's when forgiveness comes. You want to learn how to forgive someone who's hurt you? You lean into God. You pray. You pray and ask God to show you how. You're honest with him and say, God, I don't know. I don't even want to right now, but show me how. I want to do it because you are calling me to do that. But in my own earthly desires, my own earthly flesh, I don't want to. I'm getting comfortable in this anger. But I know you're calling me to forgive. So God, show me how. Friend, when you are communicating with him, when you are leaning into him, that's where the magic happens. That's where life changes. That's where healing begins. And that's where, when you build that solid, relationship with God by being in constant communication with him, that's when forgiveness happens. It's not easy, friend. He never promised easy. He never did. And guess what? You're probably going to get hurt again sometime in your life because each and every one of us fall short. Here on this earth, there's only one perfect person. There's only one perfect person. It's God. Yeah, it's just God. We're not perfect. We put these godly expectations on the people in our lives. And when we do that, we are setting ourselves up to fail every single time. We're setting them up to fail, and we're setting ourselves up for hurt feelings every single time. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's powerful and it's beautiful. And the healing and restoration that comes in forgiveness is something so incredible that I know you want to walk through it. I know you want to choose that. Friend, you're sitting in this right now. And I'm not judging. Please know this is not a judgment. I've been there far too many times. In fact, I will tell you that I've been in situations in my life where I've actually been defiant and turned my back on God. I've done it many times. I've intentionally chosen to turn my back on him. I've intentionally chosen to not be honest with my feelings, trying to hide my feelings. Sometimes I would go to him, but I felt like I was trying to, or like I had put up this wall. Of course, we know he can see right through it. He knows everything. But yet we put this imaginary wall up. Well, I'll talk to you about these things, God, but I'm not going to talk to you about this one yet, because I'm just not ready to go there. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to feel that pain. I've done it that way many, many, many times, friends. And let me tell you, what the hardest part, the very hardest part is just kind of picking yourself up off the floor and turning him. And you know what? Here's the funny thing. You don't even have to pick yourself up off the floor. All you have to do is turn to him. Say, help me, God. That's all you have to do. He's sitting right there in that pain with you, in that hurt with you. He's sitting right there in it with you. And all he's doing is he's just waiting for you to turn to him and say, I need you, Lord. I can't do this on my own. I need you, Lord. It's the hardest, if you think about it, those times in your life when you get so comfortable in the pain and, the hurt, that just turning your head towards him or looking up, how is that such a hard gesture to make or to do? Did I say that right? Why is that so hard? But it is, isn't it? But friend, I promise you, each and every time we've talked about this, you stretch that forgiveness muscle. How do you do that? You look up. You seek God. You pray continually. Each time you look up, it's going to get easier and easier and easier. Each time you look up, God's going to bless you. He's going to show you that he is right there with you. And he's going to bring you through it. Build that foundation of a relationship with God, of knowing who you are, whose you are, and who God is. Because when you keep seeking, when you keep communicating to him, that is laying down brick by brick by brick a foundation, solid foundation for everything in your life, forgiveness and everything else. You have to seek him. You have to pray continually. Quite a few years ago, I read a book called The Shack. If you haven't read it, oh my goodness, powerful book, powerful life-changing book, hard book. I will tell you that. It was very hard. So in it, this man's daughter was killed. And so the father is having trouble and really moving on with life. He cannot forgive the man who killed his daughter. And rightfully so, right? That's a tough one for sure. But anyway, as I was reading this book, there's one quote in there that I read, and honestly, it stopped me in my tracks. It completely stopped me in my tracks. And I think I may have even mentioned this last week. Forgive me if I did. I think I did. But anyway, it said in there, it is not your job to change someone. It is your job to love unconditionally. So in the movie The Shack, there's actually a clip on YouTube that I had come across when I was studying forgiveness. And I'm going to link it in the show notes because it is powerful. You need to watch this clip. It is so powerful. But the father is in the woods with God, and the father is mad and angry, as any of us would be in a situation like that, and any of our situations, that we're currently in. Matt, the father is so angry, and he says, I cannot forgive him. He may have even said, I can't quite remember. He may have even said, I hate him. I can't quite remember. But God responds to him, and this is what he says. He says, I know you do, but he too is my son, and I want to redeem him. It's a tough one, isn't it? It's tough. Let me repeat that. God's saying back to him, I know you do, but he too is my son, and I want to redeem him. And the father comes back and he says, but he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it. I want him to pay for what he did. And God says back to him, responds to him and says, oh, so we're back to you now. That's tough, right? So we're back to you now. John chapter 21, when Peter is we've talked about this a lot in our forgiveness series, when Peter says to Jesus, but what about him? Jesus, what about him? And Jesus says, what is he to you? What difference does it make to you? Basically, I'm paraphrasing here. Let me handle him. As for you, you follow me. And so in that scene, God says to him, oh, so we're back to you. Ooh. You're watching me on YouTube. Like that's like oh my gosh, clutch my chest kind of moment, right? And a little bit further down, or a little bit further into the clip, God says to him, so he says, I'm not asking you to excuse what he did. I'm asking you to let me take care of him. Just like John, right? Chapter 21, just like that. I'm not asking you to excuse them. I'm not asking you to change them. I'm asking you to let me take care of him. And then going back again, you back up in that clip. He too is my son, and I want to redeem him. Ugh. What is our ultimate calling? To make God known and bring him glory. And if we're going to fulfill and live out our ultimate calling, we have to allow God to do that. We have to allow God to take care of them and redeem that person. Hard, right? Yeah. And when you find that it's hard, think about that. So now we're back to you. And a little bit further into the clip, he says, God says to him, you're not stuck because you can't. You're stuck because you won't. Ugh. These are tough ones, aren't they? I'm telling you, this movie is powerful. The book is powerful for sure. You're not stuck because you can't. You're stuck because you won't. Yeah. You're stuck because you won't. And then he says, he says, and you don't have to do this on your own. I'm here with you. Prayer, communication. You don't have to do this on your own, my friend. You don't have to forgive someone on your own. You don't. God is with you. All you have to do is reach out to him. Make sure you watch that clip though, because there's this beautiful, scene with this guy, the father, holding this ladybug, this ladybug, and he's holding it in his hands, and you can see him just like make a fist around it, and he wants to just crush it. You can just see it on his face, and imagine feeling that pain, and you may not even have to imagine that pain right now. But take that, just like this clip, and imagine holding this ladybug, and you're so mad, and you just want to squeeze it, right? And God says, just let go. And the guy opens up his hand, and the butterfly flies away. Just like when you are, speak it. I forgive, and you say it, even if you don't feel it. When you say, I forgive, boom, that ladybug flies away. It's going to come back. That ladybug's probably going to come back to your hand many, many, many times, because you're going to have to work through this. But you keep saying it. You keep saying, I forgive. You keep seeking God. You keep praying to him. Just like in the movie, you don't have to do this alone. I am with you. So friend, as you walk through forgiveness in this, and by the way, reach out to me. You need help. You need extra prayers. Boy, I can't think of a better time to enlist the help of more prayer warriors. Reach out to me. Leave me a comment on YouTube here, and leave me a comment, and I will lift you up in prayer. I will stand in the gap with you, because this is not easy. If you're listening on your favorite podcast player, send me an email at tammy@footprintsofinspiration.com. Let me know. I want to stand beside you as a prayer warrior, because we need that. We need that extra prayer. We need that help to walk through forgiveness, to lean into God. And I want to encourage you. So today, this week, my friend, if you want to truly let go of the feelings that you're having, don't worry about them. Let God handle them, because they too are his son or daughter, and he wants to redeem them. Yeah. But in that moment, he is not leaving you by yourself. He is with you. Stop trying to do this on your own. Stop trying to do this on your own, because he is with you. He will restore. He will heal. You just have to open those lines of communication. Pray continually. Friend, next week on Monday Morning Dose of Hope, we're going to continue our series on forgiveness as we talk about how to forgive ourselves. Boy, another one of those tough ones, right? Talk about in the movie The Shack when God says he is my son, or he is my son. And for you and I, sisters, she is my daughter, and I want to redeem her. Right? Talk about Thank God for that. Talk about a praise there, right? So we're going to talk about that next week, how to walk through forgiving ourselves, how to walk through that guilt and shame, and golly day, get rid of it, because it is no way to live for sure. Again, if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to like and comment below. Whether you are, wherever you are listening or watching, be sure to subscribe to the show. And I would love it. It would mean the world to me if you would share this episode with a friend today. If you feel like this blessed you, share it on your favorite social media channel. Tag or send a text message. Having a brain burp there. Send a text message. Just copy the link and text it to somebody that you know that may need this today. That would be amazing. And also, another way that you can help the show is if you hop on over to iTunes and leave a review. That'll make a huge difference. That means oh my gosh, that does so much for the show. So if you could do that, that would be great as well. Friend, I know it's hard to lean into God. I know it's hard to even know where to start when it comes to prayers. And that's why I'm going to help you out. Sometimes we just need to get those creative juices flowing, just start making and taking that first step in prayer. So what I did is I put together just a free downloadable printable for you to, of prayers for you to walk through forgiveness. And so all you have to do, hop on over to afaithfulgod.com, click on Access Library at the top of the page, and then you can get into the library and download it, as well as all of our free resources. We have those 11 scriptures on forgiveness as well. But I just kind of wanted to help you out because I know sometimes when we don't know what to pray, when we don't want to pray, we need that help. So I put together a list of those prayers for you, or some prayers for you, to help you get started and to pray you through walking in forgiveness. So friend, thank you again for joining me, and thank you that A Faithful God podcast is a year old now, and you are listening and showing up every week. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. A Faithful God podcast has been, oh my goodness, so much more glorious than I could have ever imagined. It has just been an incredible journey, and I am excited to see what God has in store for us for the next year. So friend, I will meet you back here next week. Go out this week. Choose to forgive. Choose to lean into God and pray. Communicate with Him. Make that ask. All right, friend, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you back here on Wednesday for another episode of A Faithful God podcast.